Of the world of Holactie today, we have Flower Cardian Madness and Tearlaments as well. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more content. The Egyptian God special, I think, has always been one of the most interesting takes that the OCG has that allows them to kind of act as a different sort of metagame from us. And obviously, you know, being able to kind of cheese out the Egyptian gods with the help of Mitsurugi cards, of all things, is definitely an innovation that was not to be expected. Obviously, as time has kind of gone on, we've been seeing players trying to, you know, make this work. And obviously, with the most recent changes that their new list is going to be going forward with, you know, players are going to try to innovate and they're going to try to make this deck continue to work. And obviously, I think that this is one of the hardest decks in the entire game to truly master, because you have so many different ideas that you kind of have to jump through the hoops to make this work. But obviously, you know, somebody still continues to have the dream of this deck being a reality, so not too bad. Next up here, we have the World of Flower Cardians. Okay, this deck has been predicted to be one of the upcoming meta contenders to kind of challenge the cool tune and so forth, because I guess this deck has tools in its arsenal that is supposed to be very scary for the upcoming meta decks to really handle. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised to see a deck like Flower Cardians actually being discussed as a little bit of a meta challenger, but I'm just more surprised that it has taken this long for the deck to finally get a chance to shine. And honestly, I'm happy to see that players are talking about Flower Cardians. You know, a discussion to be had with this is a great thing, and it does show that, you know, players are getting a little bit creative. They do want to have some fun with this. Also, Droll Lockbird at 1 definitely helps this deck out a lot. Next up, we have the former shell of Tearlaments. Honestly, I'm glad to see that players are trying to make this deck work. Obviously, you know, the minute you get a second Reno heart, you know, the creative juices are going to start to flow, and you want to kind of test out some things. Now, obviously, some of the big changes the OCG has, I mean, they have access to Curious, the Link 3, which helps this deck out a lot. I do see Fairy Tale Snow. Obviously, you know, Fairy Tale Snow being one of the dumb extenders that a deck like this suddenly has access to, you know, be able to either pop back out and continue on is pretty cool. But also, you do get to see the Fiendsmith stuff in here. The Fiendsmith being a rank 6 package that does allow you to make good old Reaper to mill down cards is actually hilarious. So you've got a good tool set of options available to you in a deck like this. This is the kind of creativity that I like to see that actually makes this game look fun. We have the Elf Note pile. Now, Elf Notes, you got a lot of stupid ways to explore and play this deck. This build is actually playing the triple Synchro Emergency. The job of Synchro Emergency is it's supposed to give you some play lines for later parts of developing turns so you can kind of pivot out and actually build a board with it. And obviously, you know, having access to the Wave King Kaiser and the little mini Fiendsmith package that you do play, because naturally, you know, you will be stopping by Armades along the combo line because it's just a level 5 Synchro, right? If your deck actually already has natural synergy to that, why would you not want to build it into the deck so that you can actually have play with it? So that's your developments in terms of where we're kind of pivoting right now with things. For this, also having the Star Junk Synchron and the Jet Synchron, both being tools that this deck has, is very, very nice. Next up is Sky Striker. You know, Sky Striker, Droll and Lockbird went to 1. This deck is probably going to feel like a Titan now, man. And I do kind of appreciate that. That was like the one thing that was kind of holding us back, right? Like, if your meta actually is being distraughtly abused by Droll and Lockbird, then one of the biggest search decks in the game, which, by the way, I mean, can kind of navigate and do things, because we do have visions and things we can resolve during the draw phase to at least kind of set up a little bit of a board. I do see we're playing imperms in this bad boy instead of the one-dimensional barrier. I did see some builds in the OCG that were still wanting to play dimensional barrier. It's still cool. for what, you know, you're trying to do with the concepts, but I would say kind of test out the different ideas and see what you can cook up. Obviously, Sky Striker has a lot of, your tech slots are very, very big in this deck. Next up here, we have the Unbridled Power of Blue Eyes White Dragon. 46 cards in this bad boy is very interesting, going with 1 Gamma, 1 Delta as well. We do get to see also the new Flute Scene play in the deck. I mean, you have access to a spellcaster monster in your deck. You know, it's 2 free Blue Eyes White Dragons beamed onto the field for you to kind of combo up with. I don't exactly hate the idea of that. You also do see, you know, this deck is playing the Hydra Drive Dragon as well. I mean, in a world where I could potentially roll out a Hydra Drive Dragon off of an Underworld Goddess after breaking up some of my opponent's field is kind of a hilarious little thing. You know, I feel like we don't talk enough about like the different options that builds like these actually can have, but it's the correct tool sets that you look at and you're like, okay, this definitely is working out for sure. Next up here, we have Rescue Ace. Good stuff, honestly. Like, the Rescue Ace, obviously, in the OCG has some different tools than we do. OSS. When you do have access to original Sinful Spoils, your deck is going to bridge down some very different combo lines and is going to cause some different problems that, you know, most of the meta shouldn't really be experiencing, but the fact that, you know, you're maximizing on these deceptions. It's also crazy to me that, you know, we're just using the deception package and we're not using like the Dark Magician of Destruction. I think DMod is an incredibly powerful and ignorant card that, you know, these decks do need to be looking at. You know, it really does kind of showcase, you know, the power of things. Also, seeing triple tactics talents in this main deck, that's pretty devastating if that actually goes off. Next up here, we have what looks like Mitsurugi. Now, remember, they did in fact lose Prayers to 1, which is the beginning of the consistency hits that a deck like this, I'm not going to say doesn't want to see, but, you know, it's pretty refreshing to see that Konami is willing to take some of these hits and actually kind of edge them out. Now, I mean, does this hurt the deck to the point of breaking it? No. Prayers was a broken card for the deck, don't get me wrong, but it's a card that, you know, we can consistently kind of curve around and we don't have to necessarily feel too bad about seeing, you know, these changes within the game. So, you know, 2 Dominuses, not playing the other Dominuses, you still have access to King of the Tearlaments. You know, as long as you can get the 2 monsters on the field, your deck is probably going to be fine. You know, I don't know why you would necessarily be too worried about that. I mean, this deck does great, strong things. Next up, we have, wow, this is Branded in its current incarnation. You know, Branded, you lost Expulsion. Oh, no. It's like your deck is going to just kind of shift into being a TCG variant at this point. Welcome to what we've been doing. The only difference is we have 1 extra Branded fusion than you do, which, you know what, is not the end of the world at this point. Having some key differences operating between the metas, I think is going to be just fine. Not everything has to, you know, work on the same axis for things. So that's kind of like your takeaway, right? Like, we have an extra Super Poly, we have an extra Branded fusion. Do those cards really make or break the scenario for the deck being broken? No, I am glad to see that they are using 2 of the Towers monsters now. I mean, obviously, the fact you can fling one at the opponent off of the Fallen and Virtuous and kind of be able to pivot into another key card that you might need actually is not too bad of an option for sure. And our last list here is just Doomsy. Doomsy is one of the scary rogue decks that, if you know what you're doing with this deck, you are really going to mess up some of the opponent's end board games. And honestly, being able to set up the big Power Patron monster and, you know, have your opponent be able to not deal with it or deal with it is really good. Also, having Utopic Future Draco as a monster that you actually have synergy in your deck to make can be a little bit, you know, hard for the meta to deal with. So I think this deck is a pretty strong one, to kind of say the least, about the meta. But what do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here in a day, guys. Patrons! Thank you! Ah!
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.